What's up, guys? Amazing Menace here. So, let me paint you a little picture. The room is ripe with Axe body spray. Everyone's hormones are going crazy. And there's just a hint of angst and hatred in the air. If you're not clued in already, I'm talking about middle school. That time in everybody's lives that just kind of sucks. It's the time where everybody's discovering themselves, just starting to slip into the period of their life where things are starting to change. You get more responsibility. You're starting to grow a little bit of individuality. And mostly of all, you typically find yourself acting a little bit crazy. Well, today I'm going to tell you some stories from my middle school experience. I have a lot of them, so this will be one of many videos like this. But I'll start with my technology class with a teacher, Mr. Joyce. See, back in the day, I was just as much of a menace as I am today. I was a little menace. And a lot of times I found myself doing some things that are kind of questionable. For example, our teacher, Mr. Joyce, he would let us pick a song to play from his computer at the start of the class. A lot of times my friend Xavier, he would play Weedham Boys. It was one of his favorites. But myself, one of these days, I just decided I was gonna do something a little bit particular. So there was this one song circulating around the teenage meme community back then called the Pedo Bear theme song. And I decided it would be a good idea to have Mr. Joyce play the Pedo Bear theme song. I asked him to pull it up. I spelled it out so he wouldn't immediately know what it was. And he questioned it at first, but I told him it was just this rare internet song, the Pedo Bear. And I swore left and right that it wasn't the Pedo Bear. And the quirky little intro played to the song before the lyrics spilled out into the classroom. The look of shock and sheer terror on his face to be playing such a song on his work computer. It still haunts me to this day. Back then I thought it was funny, but I felt guilt about it ever since. But by no means was this the last prank I would play in that class. See, it was a technologies class, and, being technological, we had a 3D printer. We had just got it in. And I didn't know what to print. We could print like 3 different things throughout the course of that class. So the first thing I printed was an anarchy symbol, of course, being an edgy teenager. And then I decided, what can I print? I searched the workshop, couldn't find anything that interested me. So I decided to do a little search on my phone. And I found this thing titled Egg Cup Sculpture. It was an egg-shaped object on a post with a flared base. And being a teenager, there was nothing funnier than the thought of me printing this out and having this egg cup sculpture printed off of a school 3D printer to show off to all my classmates. So I downloaded the project file on my phone and emailed it to myself. And I checked in with Mr. Joyce to see if it would be okay for me to print this, being that it was from an outside source. And he asked what it was, and I told him it was a mortar shell, and that I would have to attach some pieces of cardboard to the base to make it aerodynamic. So, time passes, he says it's okay, and I print out the egg cup sculpture. But Mr. Joyce, he didn't really know what it was. And if you haven't figured out by now, the egg cup sculpture was a butt plug. Just pure comical amusement to my teenage self. And believe it or not, he actually didn't make me leave it in the class. He just told me to take it straight home. And by this time, I think he figured out kind of what it was, or what people would think it was. Of course, being a teenager, that wasn't what I did. I showed it to at least 4 other of my classmates throughout various classes. And when the word got out, my assistant principal, who happened to hate me, he contacted Mr. Joyce and expressed his concern. Well, being that Mr. Joyce was so cool and he wasn't trying to get me in trouble, he just basically threw it away in the trash. I didn't get in any serious trouble. He just told me not to do it again, and I didn't get to print out anything else on the 3D printer for the rest of the class. But it was definitely a memory I'll never forget. Middle school. But you know, since we're on the note, I brought up my assistant principal who hated me. And a couple years before, when I was in 6th grade, this guy in gym class, I don't know, he was just trying to show off. So he had, sprayed me in the face with some Axe body spray, so I punched him. And because they didn't take me being sprayed seriously and just tried to put me in suspension, they ended up losing that fight when my parents had to come in and explain that they didn't handle it correctly by sending me home after being sprayed. So ever since then, that assistant principal hated me. He just had a vendetta against me. So one of the days in 8th grade where I had orchestra class, I decided to clean out my instrument locker. I had left a sandwich in there for about 6 weeks. And it started to rot in there. And by this time, it was too late to get the smell out of it. So I decided to cover it up with some Febreze. So I had to go to my locker, get some Febreze, and, I had to carry my books back, so I decided to put it in my back pocket. And of course, Mr. Assistant Principal saw this. Remembering the moment he had been clapped 2 years ago. And I guess he saw this as the opportunity to try to make an accusation. He tried to say that I was going to do something with the Febreze can along the lines of the kid back in 6th grade spray somebody. He also asked me if I were going to light it on fire and do the flamethrower trick. I told him it was completely absurd and that there's no reason he has to try to get me in trouble, that I don't hate him and he doesn't need to hate me. But this was far from the last time that he had tried to target me. See, they were trying out this new system in school where if you fail on your homework, they make you redo it. They call it reassessments. And by that time, the workload was so heavy, at least for teenage me, that I was getting backed up trying to keep up with what was currently coming at me, that I couldn't get back to what I had already missed. So I just kind of let it slip for a while. And for about the fourth time that year, he called me back down to the office. And he told me that it's completely unacceptable to let it slip. And I explained that I was just trying to keep up with what was ahead of me rather than worry about stuff that had already been behind me that wasn't affecting my grade to a point where I was going to fail or anything. So he persisted, and he ended up sending me to Thursday night detention, where I had to write a letter explaining why I had made this egregious crime. So I decided to note in my letter exactly the kind of experience I was having with the leadership at this school. I explained that for 3 years now, this assistant principal had been trying to find any way and reason to cause trouble for me, and that it's pretty pathetic that a grown man spends his time trying to cause trouble for a 13-year-old kid. And of course, by the end of that, I got through my Thursday night detention, and I came back to school the next day. And the assistant principal just had this look on his face, just kind of sheer embarrassment. It was a good 2 months before he messed with me again. But I ended up getting caught up on my work. There's more craziness that went on that year, but I'll save that for another video. So if you enjoyed, leave a like. Let me know what you enjoyed in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. And I'll catch you in the next one.